right, welcome back to Off the Tap. This is episode 104. We're doing a very special thing this week. We are live in person at Southern Star Brewing with Chris Vogel and the brewmaster, Henryk. You're probably going to have to say your last name.
Orlik.
Orlik?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's Heinrich, technically, right?
No, Henryk.
It is Henryk.
Yeah,
Okay.
Henryk.
I apologize.
I don't know what my parents were thinking.
We're not going to be doing one beer this week. We are going to be trying their new Estrella
Del Sur.
Estrella Del Sur.
Star of the South.
The Star of the
Alright.
South.
So we are going to be trying that as well as 3 other beers. Doing a little bit of a flight for this episode. So, we're all along for a journey.
I was almost going to give
you.
you credit for not fucking this one up the first, and you made it. You made it a long time until the double L's in Estrella.
Listen,
How long have you lived here where
okay,
this is
look,
now a problem?
I know a little bit of Spanish, but
Jesus.
I'm still Texan. Okay.
I don't hold you to it. My girlfriend, she makes sure that I get the name right every time. She's from Cuba, so
Really?
Okay.
she's like, "Quit saying Estrella."
Yeah.
All right, I'll try.
Well,
Yeah,
he's batting 1,000 on screwing up intros. We have to record those 9,000.
No, we
times.
don't. No, we don't.
Listen,
You
if
lie.
we've done 104 episodes, we've done at least 300 intros.
No, we have not.
Give or take. Okay. Anyways, so real quick, I'm going to go ahead and give you your pour. We are going to do a little flight. If I'm pouring this wrong, you can cuss me later.
No, you can pour whatever you want.
So yeah, give us a little bit of a rundown of this because this is your new one that's going to be, released for sale soon in stores, right?
Yeah.
Is it out yet or no?
It's not out yet.
Okay.
We're still waiting on some things to get it out to the public, but it is our next. It's the first lager that we've released in quite a long time.
No, it's
Lord.
the question is here with so you have to see it from my side and from your side. So my question is, what is a Mexican beer for you?
So, okay, so I have a very, I don't want to say very generic, but like for me, all of them taste like, and I don't want this to come off offensive to anyone, right, listening or right here.
Yep.
But to me, all of them have like a cornmeal or corn tortilla like base, right, that they build on, and then they get acidic at the end. I'm not a beer drinker. I'm a beer drinker, but I'm not a beer connoisseur. But to me, when I think Mexican beer, I think super crisp, bitter at the end, and very corn-based in the taste. Not necessarily what it's brewed with, but is that way out of bounds? That means nothing?
So I did research about Mexican
He's like,
beer.
no, you're pretty fucking way off. But go ahead.
No, there's no corn in the Mexican beer.
Mhm.
Not as I was able to find out.
But does it not
It's
have a
weird.
corn?
I would say it's grainy.
Okay, grainy might be a better way.
And this is the way
describe
how
it.
you brew the beer and how you ferment the beer. But when you look the history on Mexican beer, going back to Maximilian, the first emperor of Mexico, who was bringing his own brewmaster to Mexico to brew his beer. And a lot of people were saying, okay, Maximilian is from Austria, so it's Austrian beer. No, the brewmaster was from the Swiss. The brewer was a Swiss guy, Swiss brewmaster. So when you look the European way how we make beer, you have the southern part and you have the northern part. The southern part, we make Helles.
Okay.
The northern part, we make Pilsner. The Mexican beer is not bitter.
Okay.
Has a nice bitter finish, but it's more sweet, more maltiness. So I would say it's more a Helles style. So when you look back then later on, Pacifico and all the brands what he created, there was always a German brewmaster involved. And again, they coming from Germany, so there's always somewhere the southern part of Germany, northern part of Austria.
So before we get into the specifics of it, is that what, because we chatted a little bit before, right, obviously, but is that what makes it a Mexican style versus an actual Mexican beer? What is the
It's
differentiation?
my version of a Mexican style.
Okay.
So I was going back on the history, and so we're using a malt that was called Isra. S-A-I-R-A. Isra. It's
Wehrman.
Yeah, it's from the
Isaria.
Isaria. And was made. This was official malt. It's a beer malt in 1928. And so I said, okay, when you go back, the original of Mexican beer with the old brewmaster, German brewer, which kind of malt you would use. And so I used this kind of malt. And the malt was a very popular beer in Bavaria, who you use for making Helles.
Gotcha.
It was 90% of the beer. And so it's my version of, I think is a Mexican style beer. It's a lager beer. When you go back in the 1900, 1800, early 1900, it has to be a Weinstefan yeast strain because that was the only yeast strain at this time available. Or it was the SB from 23 from Berlin, or then from Denmark. Mm-hmm. There were not a lot of lager yeast strains available. So this is where I put my thought about this. Maybe I'm off. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're very on.
I think you're very on.
But I was going from the color. So when you look at all the Mexican beers, they have a nice golden color.
Yeah.
When you drink a two-roll malt by itself, it's very blonde or yellow. I wanted you the kind of the dark gold color, and this was with this malt. So I was reading about the malt, and it's for a brewmaster, or for me, now it's American brewmaster for 30 years. I always say when you create a recipe, you go like a chef in the pantry, and you look what's in the pantry, what I have in the pantry, what I can use in the pantry. And the same is here. You see what is available in malt. And I was reading about this malt and say, this is what I need to have. And this was the idea behind it.
It does have a very, so again, I think you hit it spot on. And I'm not saying that just because that's what's written on your shirt and we're sitting here. I mean this genuinely. It has a, because so when you talk about sweet, right? Yeah. I am, and I've said this a million times, probably every 70 whatever episodes I've been here. I'm not a super sweet guy. If something is over, like syrupy or this is gonna be sound
fruity,
or too fruity if it's a bitter fruit. But for me, like anything that tends to be syrupy, I know this is gonna be very like shallow, but like kind of that cheap malt liquor syrupy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That taste. If I ever experience that, I'm turned off immediately. This has a very good base of, now I've learned it's the malt, not necessarily the in the graininess versus corn. Has a very good foundation of that is like to me bready almost, or like very bready and doughy. But then finishes crisp enough to where it's not syrupy and it's not sweet.
I think a lot of that bready quality is coming from the hops.
Yes.
Was used to finish, right?
And the one thing that you have to think about, up to I would say 1960, 1950, most of the beer was decoction. Nobody knows decoction no more. Everything is infusion because it's faster, it's cheaper. By decoction, you break down the grist, the starch particle in smaller particles, and you divide the grain in fructose, glucose, saccharose, maltose, and something else. And this has everything in the fermentation function. Now, because of the infusion, we have mostly maltose and I think glucose. And so you get more the sweetness. When you go a classic lager, Helles in Paulaner, Agustina, they are less sweeter. They're more drinkable, more enjoyable. The problem was we have the infusion system in the brew house. This is what you can do the best out of it. So you cannot go back. What I would do when I would build a brewery today, I get a decoction system. I go back to the roots, go back to the classics. But we don't have the feature there because nobody wants to spend the money for an extra vessel in a brew house.
Speaking of, first off, let's get, what are the stats on this? Like, what is the Jersey?
We're 4.4% ABV, 15 IBUs.
15 IBUs. So
that feels like it checks.
It does feel very drinkable. So speaking of like changes, invention, new things, let's talk a little bit about Southern Star. So changes recently that have that you guys have gone through as far as the brewery in and of itself. Branding changes, just overall, you guys have kind of had a reinvention. I don't want to call it a reinvention, but go ahead.
It is kind of a reinvention if you look at it from the standpoint of who we brought in and who's not here any longer. It's a common misconception saying that nobody's here that was here in the past. My family, along with the Fougerons, started the brewery, and we sold it to the Gaudenzis earlier this year. And Henryk came on as a part of that.
Yep.
But we still have the same crew in the production staff that has been here for 10 years.
And more.
And more, yeah. We still have Taylor and Michelle, Lauren, Fernando, everybody that's Terry that's been making the beer for years now.
Yep.
The only difference is we have Henryk and Dave Fougeron's no longer with us, and that's about it, really.
So what was part of that? I know that you guys, because we would see all the social media posts, like what changed physically about the location? Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, so we're upstairs right now.
Real quick, you're right, we're upstairs. Real quick, the good thing is foundationally, aside from Henryk being added and obviously the new stuff that's coming out, the things that people love about the foundational beers remains the same.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
The only thing that I would go into detail about that is that Henryk has brought on better and newer equipment.
Yep.
And we have a better lab to help test and make our beer better from that quality control standpoint.
Awesome.
If you guys have noticed when you got here, we're obviously still in our upstairs tap room, but downstairs has been completely renovated.
Because downstairs pretty much, was that just like office space?
Yeah.
What was the entryway? Yeah, because I was gonna say, I've never been down there. It's been a while, but
it was just an entryway with about 8 offices or so. And now it's a full-blown tap room with a stage. I think we have 18 taps. How many taps do we have now?
16 there.
16. Which the first 6 of our upstairs taps and our downstairs taps are the same. They're split. Okay. And then we typically like to put different beers upstairs and downstairs depending on the group. But for big events, we'll still have this area open, but for the most part, it'll be private. Yeah. For private events or whatever we can do moving forward. But yeah, if you guys notice, we have a nice, great covered area here, which over the last, I guess, 2 months now, or about a month and a half since we've been open, people have really gravitated toward. Yeah. And it's going to be very popular over the colder months. But I'm telling you, even during the hotter portion of August, we would notice that we've been sitting out there for a while and it's 96 degrees. I don't know what it is about that, but
I think it's just an experience that I think,
that's probably true.
A lot of like coming to a brewery for me at least is like, I love that. I love being outside in general myself.
Yeah.
So when I go to a brewery that has a nice outdoor area, that's where I want to be,
Yeah, currently there's a stark difference between the people that are sitting outside and inside, especially when it's nice. So that tells you a lot about that portion. But the Gaudenzis have really come in and changed a lot for us. Things that we had hoped to change for a long time, really. And
was that something that they wanted to do immediate, like when they bought?
That's the first thing. It was actually, exactly. It was actually in place before the contract was signed.
Okay.
Yep.
They were ready to pull the trigger. I think they had already demolished half of the downstairs area before everything was finalized.
I remember seeing that when I came in one of those last times before y'all closed down.
Yeah.
For that, I was like, they must be doing something.
Yeah.
And we guessed that y'all were either gonna move completely down or add down there.
No, I mean, the problem is really you don't want the people go up the stairs every day.
Yeah.
And you want to be. I don't understand why he was not doing the tap room downstairs and the office here upstairs, which makes no sense. But when I saw the office downstairs, I said, well, now I get an office with a window and finally.
Well, I mean,
not a closet somewhere with a tank view kind of situation.
Yeah, it was burst in 5 minutes. No, there's a new tap room.
A little insight to that and why we actually built the tap room here. The time that we built this tap room around 2014, 2015, a lot of breweries in town had overlooking tap rooms into their brew house.
Gotcha.
And into their brewery. So we were kind of just like going along with the trend, even though, hindsight, it might not have been the best idea, but it still yielded a very nice tap room. And I'll say one thing that the Gaudenzis even said when they came in and looked at this place, they were like, we're not touching this room. because
Oh no,
Oh, it's always been so. Yeah,
it's really cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I've loved this place.
we've talked about that a ton. It's always been super. Again, I think I visited a couple of times prior to the rebuild, but every time I came, I always thought it was like super clean, super nice, super, but not to the point like sterile, right? Like
Yeah.
where like, oh, it's not, not attractive or whatever. Yeah, it was always a great experience. So
I will say also with it being upstairs, it will limit your accessibility. I can't. I mean, y'all have an elevator, which is nice,
Yeah.
but in the event that elevator breaks down,
yeah, no, it's
you lose a little bit.
highly. We looked at that quite a bit for this
Yeah.
this new rendition, and that's something that we definitely felt like needed to change.
Oh yeah, it's very accessible down.
But for the most part, this place was built so that you could go over here to these great windows and look into
Which
the brewery.
Where the
is
magic's
very
happening.
cool.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. Yeah.
Two quick questions. We'll see how quick they are. But the first one is it. As far as like, does this change? Is it going to impact like? We chatted a little bit briefly, but like, is it going to change distribution? Is there like, are you guys still focusing on one specific area, focusing on like core brands, and then obviously the new stuff, or is it going to drastically expand where you guys are putting beers, or is it just resources to brew better beers? Or the better experience here? Do you any?
It's a
insight on that?
combination of everything a little bit.
Okay.
I think it's making a really try to make better beers.
Okay.
Going back to simple rules in the brewing process. When I was my last day, I worked in 10 different jobs in America and Canada, and my last job was in Colorado, and I know the guys from Black Page in 6 years. The 6 years in the planning to open a brewery in downtown area. And so one day they called me and said, "Hey, Henryk, we're ready. The brewery's open next month. And quit your job, come down, move to Texas." And we have kids in Texas. So for us, we wanted to always be a part of this and thing. And so we moved down here. And we started the Black Page Brewing Company. And again, it's was great operation. 15-barrel brew house, 30-barrel fermenters, but a brew pub. So it's very hard to make small batches of beer. And so 9 months later, the guys decided to shut down the brewery. From Friday, he comes in and goes on a weekend, and on Monday he comes say, "We're done. Brewery's closed down." Interesting part was when this comes out publicly that we're shutting down the next weekend. But I don't know, it was an almost every newspaper. I got 2 calls, one from a headhunter. He was looking for somebody for South Carolina, and a new guy who's starting a brew pub in Austin, Prost Ale House, and he wanted a German. He wanted a German guy.
Heard that.
And so I got both job offers, and then my last day, I cleaned up the brewery, get everything ready. I met Walter, and Walter told me, "Hey, I bought a brewery." Say, "Which brewery you bought?" And say, "Southern Star." Say, "It's full of balonies." There's nobody, because there was nothing in the news that the guys are for sale. Nobody knew about it. And I know Bombshell since I'm here in Texas.
Yeah.
This was with a Big Band Brewing Company, and then later with Legal Draft. So it was always a good name. I always loved the name. And Southern Star is a great name. And they said, "No, I bought the brewery and I want you as my brewmaster." And they say, "Okay, but I have to make a decision. I mean, I go there or here, but you have to," they say, "Let me know when you want to start," say next week, Monday. And say, "Okay, you're hired." So I was for 6 months to research and development. And then I told, "Okay, this is what we need." And I said, "Okay, you can go big out now and say, okay, you need this, you need this, you need this." So we were saying, "Okay, we need a new canning line. We need an inline counter pressure filler. We have an inline filler." I say, "Okay, we need yeast propagation to create our own yeast strain. We need a flash pasteurizer. We need an inline carbonator and everything. And we need a complete new lab. And we need a good lab."
Yeah.
And he said, "Buy the stuff, order the stuff." So he ordered the stuff, get the stuff done. And his idea was really from day one, he wanted a non-alcoholic beer because he don't drinks a lot of alcohol. And he said he wants a non-alcoholic beer, and his favorite one is Heineken.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah,
And
we've done some comparisons.
and so I did some research with Atlantic and with other. So what we're doing differently to the most of the non-alcohol. So you make non-alcohol beer two ways. One is with reverse osmosis.
Reverse.
Yeah. So you pull out the alcohol. I did this in Colorado with a research project, and then you make with a yeast strain what cannot ferment alcohol. And this is what Atlantic and other breweries doing, where you get the flavor profile from beer, but not the alcohol, with a very small amount of alcohol.
Gotcha.
But to do this here, you have to create your own yeast strain, so you need your own yeast propagation system, and you need a flash pasteurizer because as soon as you got fifth day, you have to kill the yeast, and this is the only way with a filtration, and then you have secondary, you have to pasteurize, so there's no yeast that can survive because you still have a lot of fermentable sugars left, and when you go to secondary fermentation, you have explosion left and right.
Gotcha.
So this is the idea why we got the investment was for this type of beer to make, and so the last piece of the puzzle is the inline carbonator because you do have no fermentation, so you have no yeast, you have carbonation.
Yes.
So we're doing inline carbonation.
Gotcha.
And so when our inline carbonator is installed, knock on wood, in the next 4 weeks,
Yeah.
then we're starting making non-alcoholic beer. So I think in January, February, we're coming out with 2 beers. One would be IPA version, and one is the bombshell version.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
So that would be because real quick before we jump into the next topic, like we did comparisons of the Heineken, the double zero to the regular Heineken. We did Good God. I don't know how y'all were at on that, but the Guinness to the regular.
If there's something I'm going to suggest is to stay as far away from a Guinness style.
The non-alcoholic
God.
Guinness to us was terrible.
Yeah.
I've never had it.
It was
not good.
But
surprisingly, one of the better ones Heineken obviously is probably but Corona's
was good. Very close.
Corona has a good non-alcoholic.
To the regular alcoholic version. We did a comparison over this, it was like 6 episodes or something when we weren't drinking any alcohol versus what we remember to be the original. And so it'd be very awesome to have I'm sure it'll be something else, but a non-alcoholic bombshell.
But again, you never get the same.
Oh, no. Which is the hard part, right?
Because you have some part in the fermentation you don't have.
Yeah.
And this is what makes the flavor. And when you take this out, whatever you make magic is still missing.
Yeah.
And interesting about it's when you look Germany. I was reading last week a story about Oktoberfest. This was the first year in Oktoberfest, where you have the highest amount of non-alcoholic beer. He sold almost 5% of all the Oktoberfest beer was non-alcoholic.
Oh, wow.
Years before, zero, nothing, nada.
So I spent the reason I brought this up is I spent a previous life in the flavors industry.
Yeah.
And one of our largest avenues, aside from like quick service and like salty snacks and all that, was in the alcohol market, primarily seltzers and where you're adding additional flavors, right? Some of it was beers, but more so like your wines, your daiquiris, things like that. And it was this, huge market for us forever. And then we had to switch gears and go, there's a lot of non-alcoholic drinkers now. And so how can we get involved in those that aren't the massive alcohol producers that are also making one-offs, right? So our business had to switch a ton to the independents, if you will, not the massive conglomerates that were making alcohol, to the smaller folks to say, how can we get flavors in there for the sake of our business, right? For theirs too, but for good quality products that are anti-alcohol, essentially. Yeah. And so it's just interesting to see that play out across beer. No, because I never would have expected that.
It's kind of interesting. So I'm a brewmaster. I worked always in the brewery. I had always beer at home. And 2 of 4 kids don't drink alcohol at all. And including the partner, don't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
And 2, they're Germans.
Whoa!
But it's interesting how this works, and you see a lot of more people. They say, "Okay, I don't need alcohol to be happy," or I think that's the best way. So, what is the new generation of the last one? Gen Z, or the
I don't know.
XZ,
Pick a
or
number.
whatever they call
Gen
it.
Z or
Gen
something.
Z, yeah.
We are not. You can live with non-alcoholic stuff, and so you see a lot of mock cocktails.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cocktails.
And I had one too because you have to drive at night. It tastes good.
Yeah.
It's
Oh yeah, I'm
drinkable.
They're getting better,
They're
but
getting good.
but the problem is that you can't get this experience. I'm not saying that just because we're sitting here, but like to get this experience in a mocktail or a non-alcoholic, that's the you struggle with. You can have some of the leaders.
Yeah.
No offense to the Heinekens, no offense to the, Coco Lopez. I think makes a non-alcoholic mixer. Like there's just a bunch of like good that you can get, but
I mean, we've talked about this a lot. Just the fact that I like beer,
Yeah.
right? I love beer. I love the different flavors that you can get from it. I genuinely just love the taste, and that's why I don't shy away from a non-alcoholic. Because like I don't need the buzz or whatever that I get. I just want a good flavor.
Yeah.
I want that good feeling of a beer in my mouth.
The taste.
I had the Athletic Golden over September. I kind of stopped drinking for a little bit. I had the Athletic Golden. I drank the whole 6-pack in one sitting.
Yeah.
I mean, it tasted lighter, but it felt like I was drinking beer.
yeah,
You were drinking a 6-pack at one session or in 6 sessions.
One session.
Yeah.
listen,
That makes
that's delicious
yeah.
because that's
When
good
you
taste.
drink one, say by watching TV, say I have the feeling of a beer, but not a whole 6-pack.
Yeah, I think
It's. I mean, if you're used
You
to
can,
sitting around,
you can drink water.
yeah,
you could, but it doesn't taste as good. That's
it just.
the point
But
we're trying to make.
it felt like I was drinking beer. That's
Yeah.
why it was no different.
No, I remember in Germany. In Germany, we have Radler. Radler is 50% soda, 50% beer.
Okay.
So when you
Of
go
course,
when
of
you
course
go
they do.
when you go in a beer festival, Bierhalle or something, and Wiesenfest, and you're starting at noon o'clock and you're there bis 10 o'clock at night or 11 and whatever they're shutting down, and you sit on the table, you socialize, you drink and have fun and good time, but every fifth beer it was then a Radler, or it was at this time non-alcoholic beer.
Every fifth beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you have to.
There's a lot of those.
And we're drinking 1 liter Stein.
Yeah.
And so
Oh.
the Stein is done in an hour, less than an hour, and you eat between. And again, you have your kids going out playing around, and this is where you spend your Saturday or Sunday. And we have a lot of beer gardens in Germany, and this is why I like this here, the tap room. For Saturday, I bring my kids, have a pint of beer, eat something, and it's fantastic.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So not only a what do they call a callback
Yeah.
to the original comments, but yeah, there's a ton of outside space that obviously there's future plans for,
Yeah.
right? The inside space downstairs, which I don't think there was a stage here before, right?
No,
or maybe
no,
up here
no.
there wasn't. So there's live music space
I think
downstairs.
y'all had a stage up
No,
here.
no.
Nope.
No.
This is the new
We
one. here.
just built this one up here.
Yeah,
And
I'm
downstairs
pretty sure.
We've had something similar in the past, but we've always had the stage outside. We built the downstairs stage, so technically now we have 3 stages.
And food.
Yeah, our own
Right.
kitchen.
So that was the thing too before. Again, this has been quite some time back. It was like, can we bring the kids? Can we, for us, right?
Yeah.
Can we bring the kids? Can we catch a food truck that they're going to have something that they can eat off of, right? How, can we do beers? Is there outside space? Because obviously with little kids, even in this area, I remember one time it was not that it was miserable for y'all, but it was miserable for us because they were just running in this space and we had to
Right.
go downstairs, right, to take them outside. So you're right. It does create a whole different experience.
It should be family oriented.
Yep.
I think yesterday you had some live music here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Walter said, because I was yesterday with my wife's birthday party, she got very old, and all the kids went in town.
We can.
Wow.
Hey, listen. We can
Listen,
cut.
I can't-
We can
listen,
edit whatever we
I'm
need.
very old too. I'm very old too. So
Say,
we're both old.
Just
We're keeping
pause
it
and
in.
say she's beautiful.
Yeah, there
No,
you go.
she's beautiful.
We went to my wife. She's beautiful, and then cut that.
No,
The magic of editing.
Next year we're married for 50 years,
Wow.
and
Congratulations.
being married with me for 50 years. This is a lot.
Aye,
There's a lot
really
to take.
difficult.
Yeah.
But we are always with it's family and always with kids, and you have to entertain the kids, but you need food.
Mhm.
And the problem with food
Yeah.
truck is there's one section of food only.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
you're thinking mostly overpriced a little bit, and for what you get. So having your own kitchen it's a little bit different because we have meals for kids.
Mhm.
It's affordable. And then our main meals, we are in good price range. And our chef, I'm saying, he makes good stuff.
I'm
We're
gonna
missing
say,
some
though,
stuff from Germany.
we were here yesterday, and I loved the food.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but you are using peanut oil down there,
Whoa.
Oh,
and
yeah.
my girlfriend is allergic to peanuts.
Oh.
What I told you though, I
The-
would have
Yeah.
made a change for that. I'm sure he could have accommodated you.
Oh
better.
yeah, I'm sure he could have. It's just
We're still kind of figuring
it's just
things
a
out.
thing.
Yet
down there.
again, one more no offense to Lily, but one more impossible standard to have to
Yeah.
measure to.
I mean, it's rough. I get, and I'm not trying to like call you out or put you on the spot.
No,
No,
that's
no,
understandable. I
just
I'm
mean, you
just
gotta
making
know
a
that.
point.
Yeah.
Good to know. It's a lot
Yeah.
of people that have issues with peanuts.
Yeah, well, and it's hard to worry about everything. With worrying about gluten and stuff too. All
We're working on a non-gluten reduced beer.
So I was gonna say
Okay.
my wife is, which not by like diagnosis or anything, but it does help with the I'm gonna say mental stability of my household. Let's put it that way. Helps with her stomach a ton, so she's gone away from it. She's not a huge beer drinker to begin with, but I have a lot of folks that work for me that are massive beer drinkers that have struggled with gluten as of late for whatever the reason is, and there's not a ton of great options.
No, there was not. We won by my job before was a legal draft. I don't know if you hear about the guys. They won from 2016 to 2021, 22 when they got shut down. Again, it was a plan to build a brewery to get bought by Budweiser, and this was not working out. But we had a gluten reduced one, and it was very successful. It was one of the partners, his wife was a celiac or what it is called.
Celiac?
Yeah. And so we made the beer, and nobody trusted me that I make it correctly. And again, everything has research, and there's this doubled and tripled checked on the. So we was giving you the beer and say, "Hey, try it." And I looked at her, and everything looks good. Say, "Yeah, you're good, good to go." But we did very well with this beer because there's a lot of people. And my daughter-in-law, she loves beer, and she buys always beer made with what is the stuff was the using to non-alcoholic beer, gluten-free beer.
I have no idea.
Like
It's some weird stuff. Some
Anthem gum?
no, it's a shotgun or the shotgun.
sorghum sugar?
Sugar, yeah,
Sugar.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the beer, but this is a regular beer, but reduced or removed the gluten out of this.
Yeah.
And this is FDA approved. It's gluten free.
Yeah.
And tastes like a regular beer. I mean, like non-alcoholic beer tastes like a regular
Yeah,
beer.
now that
There's always
there's always a
bit
little
of
bit
What
of
he's
definition.
saying is it's gluten free, but it's gluten reduced. If that makes sense.
You have
Yeah.
you have to. It's gluten free by FDA standards, but you have to write on the label the gluten removed
gotcha.
because you take out the gluten.
And I would say that for again, nothing against the gluten folks by any means.
Yeah.
Peanuts are a little bit different, but the gluten folks, it's normally like being lactose intolerant. You're not going to go into anaphylactic. So
Yeah,
like,
it's just the
having
bad
something
kind.
drastically
It's just
reduced.
not fun.
For the most part.
To shift gears back, which by the way, if you guys were paying attention, we did go to the Bombshell Blonde. I could go on for days about Bombshell Blonde. I'm not minimizing or distilling it to the fact that we just moved on to it and we already drank it. Well, most of which I spilled in his lap. There's many things I could say about that. We'll wrap it up at the end on that one. But one thing I do want to circle back to, because we did talk about this. So I'm a big, and we chatted about it earlier, I'm a big branding guy. I don't necessarily always pick beers based on what's written on the can or what attracts us to the can. However, this one seems, right? It's the Estrella Del Sur. Right? Del Sur. Fuck, that was close. Seems a lot simpler. Seems a lot more or less complex. Obviously, doesn't have the branding of the Bombshell that we've talked infinitely about that we love. We'll get into the conspiracy theory again because I find this one to be. I mean, it's 2 color tones. It's very like you know it, you love it, you've seen it before, kind of thing. But my question is, does the beer drive, like you set out to make a Mexican style lager and then they figured out branding later? Or is there sometimes a case where there's a real good niche for branding or there's a real good niche for where we're going to put it in market and you have to make a beer or somebody has to make a beer to fulfill that? No? It always starts
We've
with the
never
beer.
encountered the latter
Okay.
before. It's usually we have a beer in mind and
Gotcha.
then we figure out the designs after.
Okay.
I think with him it's probably very similar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like more like marketing strategy.
The
We're
reason
a
that
brewery first, way before we're
Yeah.
a market.
no, agreed. But the reason that I am is because we drank, whether they're local here or whether they're local to Texas or whether they're from California, whatever, all around the states. There's a few where I look at the can. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, like going back to Crawford Bach, right? Like in my brain, I feel like marketing went to them. And they were like, guys, we have a chance to partner with the Astros and make a Crawford Bach.
Yeah.
So y'all need to come up with a Bach.
Well, typically, a guy like
You know what I
Henry,
mean?
he's got weapons. He's just got so many beers under his belt. Like he could fill that, and he'd be like, "Oh, Crawford,
Oh, you're right.
you got a Bach." He's
Let me
like, "I
build
got
my
one
Bach."
of the best Bachs ever." Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because there are also ones too where, and again, maybe it's just because it's not my personal preference, but there's ones where we drink them, and I'm like, man, they must have came up with a beautiful fucking can, and then they were just trying to fill them as quick as they could because it ends up being terrible.
Yeah.
And then there's the opposite too, where we'll pick up one where I'm like, just because we're interested in it and we drink it, I'm like, oh, I would never. There's no way my wife, there's no way anyone else would pick up this can because it's super unattractive. But the contents inside pretty damn good. So that's why I always wonder.
That's more just a disconnect from the brewers to the marketing team.
Okay.
Or a connection.
Yeah, there's in two different worlds. You have the marketing team and you have the brewery side, and the marketing comes and say, you have to make this beer. Yeah. And then you say, you go to hell.
Right.
Yeah. I do whatever I want to do.
Fast.
And but as brewer, you have to work together as team. And you say, okay, this is the way we want to be in the market. What is the style? I don't think that the style of the beer, it's not so important. It's more really marketing. What do you think we can sell? And then you can make the right stuff to sell the beer.
I assume that it was all driven by the beer, but I just wanted to double check because again, I've run into some cases where
going back to the Smash. So
So this is
Smash.
the new one we haven't had yet.
No, we haven't had this one yet, but one thing that's very interesting to me, which I want you to tell us about the beer too, but reoccurring theme, which I was unaware that she, or whoever, I don't know if she's named, but that she jumped across different branding.
So we had a company, a marketing company, before he took over the marketing side. We had a company who did the marketing, and the idea was that we have to, and we're changing out this label too in the future, to have 4 beers or 5 beers which looks the same.
Okay, so y'all are gonna switch it to match branding.
It's in the works, and I'll give you guys a sneak peek of it.
Okay.
I'll tell you, it's been a tough pill for me to swallow personally.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys don't know, or a lot of people don't know, but this is the second rendition of the Bombshell Girl.
Yes.
In 2019, I believe we changed her to fit the 19.2 ounce cans, and we actually had the old 12 ounce and the 19.2s on the same run for a little while, and then we swapped over to this one. And then just to kind of tell you guys how it's been in the market for us over the years, there were times that we'd go out to bars or restaurants. The first real marketing that we ever did was my dad buying people beer and the bars that we had gotten into, which were a very small handful in the Woodlands Conroe area. But you would go out and you would talk to people at the bar that was serving our beer and say, hey, have you guys heard of Southern Star? And everybody was like, no, what's Southern Star? And then you'd mention Bombshell Blonde. Everybody'd be like, oh, absolutely, Bombshell Blonde. And it continues today. I mean, 17 years later, I can go into a bar or restaurant, talk to the waitress and be like, hey, do you guys have any Southern Star? They'll look at me like, maybe we might. And no, well, do you have Bombshell Blonde? Like,
Yeah, hell yeah.
We've had that for 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you take that idea and say, well, if everybody's recognizing the Bombshell brand, why not see if we can turn that into a line? And that's kind of where we went with that.
Okay, yeah, because when we did the Hefeweizen, which is this the right pronunciation?
In Germany, they have
Hefeweizen. Okay. So when we did the Bombshell Hefeweizen that y'all just did, we kind of talked about how these two are branded, with the new brand style, and we were wondering if everything was going to start going that route,
Not everything,
just the bombshell stuff.
but we will keep a line. We have the bombshell lineup.
Okay.
And really what that represents are the beers that will stay throughout the year.
Gotcha.
And just a history for those beers. The Smash IPA and the Hefeweizen were the first 2 beers that we released with Henryk.
Oh, okay.
So those were the first 2 beers that he released with us. And we got those mandated into HEBs, and they've been very successful. Our Hefeweizen's our second bestseller now.
Behind the bombshell.
Behind the bombshell.
Or sorry, behind the blonde.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, you're on the same boat.
I got
We'll
you.
probably be there
Yeah.
forever. It's always going to be bombshell to me. But we are trying to, just expand the brand because we want people to see the beers that we have that are, in the same wheelhouse or in the same realm. They're just as good and just as crushable, or future offerings. Currently, we have the Bombshell Blonde, Bombshell Smash IPA, Bombshell Hefeweizen, and our Strawberry Blonde that will all be branded the same.
Okay, so the strawberry though currently doesn't have this.
Actually, we just released the first
Does it?
set of cans.
Okay.
Damn it!
So
It's the pink color.
Gotcha.
okay.
Is the strawberry seasonal?
No,
No,
year round.
Okay,
Yeah.
it is. Gonna
Oh,
be
wow.
year-round. All right, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, because for a lot of us that I'm not a huge fruited beer kind of guy unless it's like on the sour realm, but we don't have time for that today.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but and so seasonally, that's we joke all the time, like, oh, I forgot because life gets busy. I'll be like, oh, I forgot what month it is, right? I forgot what time of year it is, and I'm like, oh, fuck, the strawberry's coming out. Oh, I know, we must be into summertime, or
yeah.
Oktoberfest is around the corner because I see them start hitting the thing. So that's nice. That'll be available year round. I was unaware that was something that was a yearly offering.
Do we have the stats on this Smash IPA?
Yeah.
yes, 6.6 ABV, 66 IBUs. Going to Henryk's philosophy.
Yeah, we have to go. Let's do that. Let's do that real quickly because everybody that listens and everybody that watches, we struggle with this every single week. Henryk was enlightening us right before the episode started, but it does say 6.6 on the can. IBUs obviously aren't called out, but walk us through why there's variance in the ABV. You were talking about it earlier.
No, the one thing is you have to. There's one large brewery they call drinkability, and the same here. You have to have the body of the beer, so you have a high starting gravity. So you need the sugar base, and then you need the hops, so that they harmony each other, and so. There's a kind of a rule from the German brewing schools. You have the alcohol compared to your bitter units. That is not really written in stone, but like the IPA. And when you look a lot of successful IPAs, they end at 9% alcohol, the 90 IBUs, and they're working well. And the same was here. So I'm a German guy. I like simple beers. This is a beer where I can drink 4 or 5 pints.
Really?
And drink one more because we're using the citra hops, and the citra hops is like, for me, it's a lemon drop bonbon, and you drink it and you have the aftertaste of the lemon, and I think get one more, and I would say I was drinking more Smash as blonde.
Really?
And I'm the guy who drinks lighter beers,
Really?
but the Smash is out from the looks, I like a nice head on the beer. The color is fantastic. We're using centrifuge to remove I like the yeast in the beer, but the problem is with the beer, everything what goes up comes down, and so when you take the Smash and you put it in a can after 4 weeks, pouring in a glass, it's crystal clear.
Yeah.
Because everything is at the bottom of the can, and so we say, okay, let's centrifuge get this thing out. And then we have another problem with secondary yeast fermentation or something else. And but it's a different yeast strain. This is a yeast strain that stays more in the flotation. But still, when you take a yeast and you put it in the fridge or you put it in a glass, when you be careful, it's very clear. But the rule in Germany is when there's I don't know if you guys watching English soccer.
Yeah.
Klose. He was the coach from the Liverpool.
Oh.
And so he was
Liverpool, not the coach as much. I don't.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't follow that.
But he's a spokesperson for German Erdinger Weissbier.
Okay.
And Erdinger Weissbier is the largest German brewery who make Weissbier, which is a half beer. And so what you do, you pour in your glass. When you want to clear, you pour it in a glass carefully, drink it clear. You want it yeasty, you take the bottle or you can, you swirl it in your arm in a movement, and then you pour it in and you have a nice yeasty beer.
Gotcha.
And this is the way I drink it. I like it yeasty. And there's a rule, it's not a real rule, it's a rule in my mind. So I always explain to unfiltered beer. You have in unfiltered beer yeast, and yeast is a complex of vitamin B, 6, 12, and I think something else. And so you have the whole vitamin complex. So you drink one beer in the morning, one for lunch and one for dinner. You have all the vitamin B what you need for the day.
I see. Makes a lot of
product.
sense.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Product.
What happens if you do 12 for breakfast?
Then you have too much vitamin B.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Way too much.
At least
way too much.
there's a
And
drawback.
vitamin B has an advantage, I think, with hair growth. So I'm not drinking enough.
Yeah, well, me either.
Yeah.
We talk a
didn't
lot
even
about
pull the
mine. I wear a
donut
hat.
today.
I wear a hat on these podcasts for a reason.
I've been telling him he should
Always
double
do.
down with advertising. He's got a lot of available space.
What
up
do you think
there.
about my beard?
It's nice.
I like
What's
it.
What do you think? How old is it? How long I have this?
I don't know, 4 weeks. How long?
Is
that pretty cool?
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no,
That's pretty long.
it's
for
a long
that.
time.
I was following you for
Yeah,
a little bit,
6
but I
weeks.
trimmed mine not too
So
long.
I want to get. I have to get the base here first. But I like to be like a cool brewer.
Yeah.
All brewers have beard.
You're right. That's a new thing, though.
That's
Right?
what you
Nobody
need.
cared.
Yeah, but I
Nobody
have to-
thinks you're cool unless you got a nice beer. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, so I want to get a long one, and
That's pretty good length for 4 weeks, though.
Yeah,
That was-
so interesting. It's grows this way very fast, but not.
Yeah, I was gonna
because-
say the reason this is so full is not a lot of activity.
It
Yeah.
just falls down.
All the blood flows going to the chin. And,
Yeah, and I had I lost. And everybody in my family has full hair, black hair. I'm the only guy who has
Of course.
white hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine grays a little bit, but it's still very, very full.
well, going back to what you said about the smashes, I very much agree. It's incredibly drinkable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too.
Like I think
I'm not gonna say too drinkable,
Yeah.
but almost. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm not problem with it. That there's no drawback to it.
like for 6.6, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially you saying it's 66 IBUs.
yeah.
It doesn't feel like it.
No,
at all.
not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Oh yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah, so it's very good, and I felt the same way about the Hefeweizen. It was also very drinkable.
So on that, just for my personal,
Yeah.
but the Hefeweizen, they have a tendency to be not necessarily Southern Stars, but I run across one that's too sweet for me. They will be like sweet and a little syrupy, and I get turned off. And I think I even said that when we had the Southern Star Hefeweizen. I was like, I hope this one doesn't, lead me astray, but it didn't. But
It's I think the yeast stream was we're using, it's fermenting very nice. So we have a high degree of fermentation, and this means a high degree of fermentation. It's there's a scientifically you have a degree of fermentation when you buy malt. They say, okay, this is the percent of fermentable sugar. So with the brewing system as we have, the goal is 75%.
Mm-hmm.
We are reaching maybe 72%, 71% because of the system as we have. We have not the high-tech German system. We have made in America built. And so plus it's in infusion, not decoction. And so you want to get the 75%, you want to get very close to the 75%. Then you have a very dry beer.
Mm-hmm.
You have not the sweetness. When you have 72%, 71%, you have still sweetness. But a lot of the beers made in America, they have 65% of yield. And this is where you have the sweetness.
gotcha.
So everything is, the one is the art to make the beer, but the science, it's priority. So you have to follow the science.
So one more question as we get into the conspiracy theory, because I know you've been waiting on this one.
Yeah, this is
Murder that down,
this
and then
is
I'll fill it
one
up.
of my favorites.
So I was, before you walked in, we were talking about, like, obviously you do this as a job, not a job, but as a career, as a passion, right? Do you consider beer brewing to be an art and it's just something that you exercise? I don't want to get too like willy nilly, or do you consider it to be like a trade or a craft that you're constantly perfecting, or one of the or the both?
I think it's both. So to be a good brewmaster, you have to have the craft. You have to know the craft. But then you have to have the art too. Because you have to, again, when you create a recipe, you have to know what goes with what. And I think you have both. So when you have a home brewer, a microbrewer who is very artistic, but don't know the craft side, it's never be successful. When you do craft side only, but you have no idea what you're doing, you're not successful. You have to have both. You have to have passion. You have to come to work and say, hey, a new day, but let me do something different, or create something different. And I think a lot of the guys are there, but then they're missing the craft, the tradition, and then they fail. But for me, it was always first half of my time as brewmaster was only the tradition, the craft, to do the job. Only in America I got free and say, hey, do whatever you want.
Gotcha.
You're the king of the hill. And this is the fun part. This is really the fun part.
Does that passion carry over to anything else in life outside of beer? Because for us, for most, this is why I want to say this, because for most of us, beer is what we are coming to as an escape from whatever craft or an escape from whatever art or whatever the way we express ourselves. But does that carry over into something else outside of beer for you?
For me, beer or the brewing, it's everything what I love to do. I read a lot of brewing beer. I do a lot of research about beer. For me, it's my hobby. It's my passion. I was for a job interview and I got to the last level. And I an old guy, so the gentleman who got the retirement, they needed a replacement. And this is a brewery who makes 6 million barrels of product. And so the final guy, so I got approved from everybody, was in charge of the brewery side. The final guy was the plant manager. He was 35 years, 40 years old. His hobby was horse riding and horse racing and this stuff. And he asked me, what is your passion? What do you, when I say, for me, it's beer. I like to die in the brewery. And this was not the right answer. The right answer would be, I do car racing, I do cooking or something else. And this was where I failed. And when I asked later on, what was the reason? I say, yeah, you have no hobbies. You need hobbies. Say, brewing is my hobby. There's nothing better in life as brewing beer.
So you have found the perfect pathway.
For me, I'm go up. So I wake up. Not the right word. I go to bed. I dream about beer, brewing, whatever I can do better in the brewery.
Oh, and not so much that.
No, whatever. What is going on? So I wake up at 2:00 in the morning and I write notes. But I go to work and I cannot say I hate to go to work. I almost hate to take vacation because I love to be at work. When I look at my kids, everybody is doing a good job and everybody has a great job and everything else, but there's nobody happy. They make it for the money.
Yeah.
For the retirement and the social and all this. But there's nobody really enjoy to go, oh, should I have to go back to work?
Yeah.
For me, I cannot wait to go to work. I can not be unemployed or be in retirement. I would shoot myself.
I was hopeful that was the answer, but also as an outsider, I assumed there would be something about the job that you did.
And so when I would be able not work in a brewery, I would do a distillery. I make in my garage a 50-gallon tank and make my own whiskey or my own vodka and sell it in the back of my truck. To do
Perfectly legally.
Yeah. No, you get the permits and everything else. But you have to have a passion. You have to do something. When I think about it, I go home and my wife, they find millions of jobs in the house. And so I come home now and say, hey, honey, I'm so tired. It was a hard day. I have to work only Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
But no, I'm happy with what I'm doing. And I'm hoping, and I told Walter, and Walter's the same. Walt is a little bit older than I am. He loves what he's doing. And when you love what you're doing, it's not a job.
Yeah.
You look at it very differently. This place is, if my girlfriend was here, she'd tell you. Like, all I do all day long is talk about beer, talk about the brewery, talk about what we're doing and how we're going to be better and what we can do tomorrow. I mean, you guys wanted to come in on a Sunday, and both of us were like,
Yeah, sorry.
fine.
No,
No, it doesn't change anything for us.
Yeah, but let's say I was waiting short notice on the Monday. I had to go to, in my age, you have to go to the doctors now.
Ah,
Well, at my age too, I have to go to. I go to a lot of doctor's appointments. So
I think more.
understand.
Yeah.
so let's do that. There was a lot, by the way, that we're probably going to have to do a follow up, I would only assume, at a later date, just because there was.
I would say when we
ton of-
get the non-alcoholic beer,
That
when
would
we
be
make the
perfect.
this would be something interesting.
Oh yeah,
Because there's a ton of questions that go unanswered that I had on my list, but I think that's a good thing because the discussion
Yeah.
was great. Let's get into first. We're not going to do rankings this week. We're going to do WWYBDs for all of them.
Do the ranking behind us. Maybe,
Yeah,
we
well,
want to be there.
well, I mean, I'll be upfront and honest always. But the thing is, I've had a ton of bombshell.
Yeah.
I've had a ton of conspiracy theory. The only one that I have not had the Smash IPA, which was great. So maybe we can do ratings on that one. And then obviously the one that is not out for everyone. I feel special.
I know. We get a little bit of a sneak
Is
peek.
the Estrella Del Sur. Ooh, I got it that
That
time.
makes-
I think I'm just
Yeah.
going to start
Okay.
calling it Star of the South.
Yeah, Star of the South.
There we go.
And that'll be even that'll be even better when people find it. They're like,
Yeah.
I can't find it. I can't find it. And you're like, yeah, you can. So let's do WWYBDs, and then I want to jump into anything else that you guys want us to know about.
Okay.
So let's
Yeah.
do. You want to start roundtable?
Which one are we gonna start?
Let's actually finish with the Estrella. Let's start with the ones that we know and love. Like, what is your bombshell blonde?
I mean, Bombshell Blonde to me is it's an outdoor game beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like my cornhole washers, outdoor with the boys, and or with the family probably.
Kind of like your all-rounder.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Exactly.
yeah, you took it. That it's my everyday drinker. It's something that I'm familiar with, not only from buying, but also familiar with that I'll take it to do outdoor stuff. I'll take it to do, that's gonna sound bad, like we're taking the kids to the park or whatever. Like just randomly. Bombshell is an everyday drinker. Not belittling it, but it's like a whatever. It's just there kind of thing. In a
Yeah.
good way.
Yeah.
How about for you?
Bombshell, for
Yeah.
me, it means quite a bit for me. But
Way more than you could probably
yeah,
explain.
I turned 21 when we started the brewery.
Okay.
And Bombshell was like there. And I had to convince my friends that, craft beer was the way to go.
Okay.
And they were all drinking Coors Light and whatever brands you want to talk about. But Bombshell for me is after a hard day's work, that's the beer you go to.
Yeah, I can see that. I can, because it's a nice light finish to your night. It could be
Not a
to your
nightcap
day.
per se, but something that closes the evening.
to your day.
It's with dinner for me.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
No, I would say for me the same. When I got here, but the Bombshell was always there.
Yeah.
And the Bombshell is the history from day one, and it's the number one selling beer. It's a very drinkable beer. I would say after I have to cut the lawn
Mhm.
and
Oh,
you sweat,
Yes.
this is the beer where you get back your energy and
Yep.
you get your minerals. And I love German soccer players after the game you drink a beer because this is the energy drink. I would say this
Okay.
is an energy drink. It's drinkable.
It's
a-
a German energy drink.
German energy drink.
German
I don't know where you
Gatorade.
guys were going with that, but yes,
No,
that's where
it's
you should
because
go
you have
now.
all the nutrition for your body. You when you sweat, you get all the water out. This gives you back is the
The
energy,
water.
the,
Yeah,
the,
the thing-
Gatorade,
Yeah.
the Gatorade of
The
beer.
Gatorade
Of
of
beer.
German
Gatorade.
Gatorade.
Nothing makes me
Bombshell
feel better
blonde.
about beer than sitting next to Henryk, man.
I'll tell you
Hold
what.
on.
Now I feel great about it.
German
Oh, it's true.
Gatorade. Let me just capture that real quick. Okay, not to speed date through, but let's talk about the conspiracy.
Okay, well, obviously,
WWYBD.
I mentioned earlier, the conspiracy theory is probably one of my favorite IPAs in general. So when it originally went away, I was very sad. when y'all brought it back recently, I was very excited. And now finding out that it's just kind of like a we had cans type thing, I'm a little bit more sad, but I do love it. To me, this IPA is like a fire IPA.
Yeah,
sitting around a fire.
Damn it.
You know, I'm drinking it usually at night, with probably about like 3 or 4 other people around a fire pit, just hanging out, talking. That's pretty much it for me.
So I don't know why that is. Maybe that's an IPA thing, but same thing. Like outdoor, cold out, which it doesn't get cold here, but you know.
Oh, it gets cold.
Well, but yeah, you're right. For us, it gets cold. So like outdoor fire cold or indoor fire, but night. This is gonna be real weird because they're not with us every week. But after I shower and it's late at night, I do not go outside. I'm a grown ass man, but if I shower, not one toe goes outside. And so shower, but I'm working a fire and like a fireplace, open fire, a wood stove or something. So warm fire and it feels like I'm outside, but I'm nice and clean. This is what I want. And it can be with people, and it might be like we talked about earlier, it might be 3, 4, 5, way more than I should be. But like trying to read a book, giving up on it, and drinking these in front of a fire when it's colder, inside clean. I'll drink them outside, but we'll talk about that when we get to the Smash IPA.
I can relate to all those things.
Yeah.
I almost thought you were going to say a shower beer in general.
Oh, no, I love shower beers too.
But I would say this is just your all-around, like, I don't want to say it like this, but it's the only way I can think about it, is like your guilty pleasure beer, where it's just the beer that you have whenever you get home, or the beer that you have around with your friends. It's stuff that you like. It's my beer to try to get my buddies to, hey, try this beer kind of thing.
Yep.
Back in the past, you know. But it's definitely a social situation for me. And you guys bring up the fire pit, which is that's the next place I'll have it. I can tell you that.
Like I said, I had to brew it because it was coming to production. We had a lot of cans of it, but I like the idea behind the history, and I think we have enough cans for maybe 2 more runs. So maybe next spring we come out again with a limited series, and then next fall, and then you never know. This can be maybe every year for a short time. We have a canning line where we can run labels, so we can run limited series. The problem is when you buy cans, you have to buy 25 pallets and 250,000 cans, and for beer, you sell only 10,000 cans. You have 25 years of inventory. It's a good beer. For me, as brewer, it's a very expensive beer. We never get the money back what we put in. And but again, it has good history behind it.
Well, those of us that enjoy it, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Right? The whole concept, genuinely, because it is something that we enjoy.
I think everybody here in the company was saying, I mean, I was against it from day one, but everybody was saying, we have to come back, and so when we had brewed the beer and we had the first can coming out of the canning line, it was good. It was really enjoyable. And I mean, the alcohol is, for the price wise, again, you make a good deal on this.
Yeah, I think that's what I liked most about it.
I'll piggyback on that a little bit. He's a very technical guy, and he'll tell you that it's our influence that really wants to brew these beers.
Yeah.
And it really goes into the history that we have, and I kind of touched on this earlier with you guys. So we have the opportunity to make nostalgic beers, or to touch on beers that we've made 10 plus years ago. And I really want to bring those things back. And like he's saying, we're trying to figure out a way that we can do it that makes sense for us.
Yep.
Like we have the labeler. We can cut costs in certain areas to bring back certain beers. I will say that this beer will stay in our portfolio for quite some time. Now, whether there's skips in between there or not, but it takes guys like you to really get it out there and really talk about it for us to be able to do it. I mean, we have a ton of good beers in the past.
And I like to say something to this. We had cans for the Little Cow.
Little Cow.
We destroyed the cans.
Oh, gotcha.
So there was no way in hell I would make this beer.
I see.
So
Which is one of my favorite beers of all time.
Tension on the other side. No, I get it. But that is a testament to the fact
It's a
that
good beer.
this is a good beer,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Not that Little Cow or
Low cal's great.
I never had.
It's one of the first enzyme-based low-cal IPAs in the market.
And it was the only one.
I thought it was great, man. It's one of my favorites because back when we released that beer, everybody was wanting IPAs that were
Lighter, not lighter, but lighter on the body.
Are you on
Less
an
bitterness.
IPA? We have
Oh,
low
less
cal-
bitterness.
Yeah.
Well,
This isn't such an
I'll
IPA.
take you that.
yeah.
No, this was low calorie.
But at the time, it was like everybody was it was the IPA craze.
Yeah.
And everybody was making these IPAs. They were going double IPAs, and everything was super
Oh, yeah.
bitter. And then we finally come out with this IPA, and it was like sessionable, almost no bitterness to it, hop forward. That's
Not saying that one doesn't have its place, but I would say that you have a couple of options.
Oh, yeah.
That pacify those now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next was the
Smash.
Let's go to Smash.
So this one to me is, I mean, I mentioned earlier, it's very drinkable. It shocks me that it's 66 on the IBU.
Yeah.
So this is, we've had a couple of beers on the podcast that we call like a gateway.
Mhm.
And I think this is very much a gateway IPA.
Yes.
I think this is one that you're going to give to somebody to try to get them to enjoy IPAs and maybe start to understand it a little more. So this to me is one that I'm going to bring to like my buddy's house to watch football.
Mm.
I'm going to bring a sixer of this and I'm going to get whoever's there to try them. So it's like a football. I see football mainly, but maybe just sports in general out in the garage with the boys.
It's back to your point. This is a 3 p.m.er for me. Like, I mean, not that I'm having to, like, I'm not going to do this one at noon or 11 or 10 or whatever, like when you're just going hard. But this is like a 3 p.m. early afternoon, but you're calling it quits by 7 kind of deal. Like, I got to travel the next day or whatever. A good afternoon with good food and drink. I don't know necessarily what it would pair with, but temperature, sausage. Well, I mean, I would assume all of them, but yeah,
Like a brat?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
So hearty sausage would be great now that you bring it up. But just late afternoon, yeah. It doesn't even have to be with the boys. It could be solo. It's an afternoon, like a 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. when I've got things going on, because it is super drinkable. It is the gateway. Like you were talking about with Bombshell, right? When you were coming up, that Bombshell was the one that you were trying to introduce to people. I find that Smash IPA would be you got those people that are hardcore because of the craze. I fucking hate IPAs, or I'm anti-IPA, or I love them. The ones that are extreme. There's no in between. This would be one for the folks that are like, you say you don't like them, but give this one a try. Or the one that thinks they know everything about IPAs. You're like, hey, you might know everything, but drink this one, and then it'll change their mind. I feel like it's that kind of beer. Yep.
This beer, you guys say gateway, and it reminds me of a few of our beers, to be honest. We used to call Bombshell Blonde the intro to craft beer. And we had kind of touched on this earlier with you. We had Pine Belt Pale Ale back in the day that was like
it's a whole
a lot of
episode.
people's first real craft beer, like super crafty beers.
Yep.
From 2007, 2008, 2009, going forward. And I would say the same thing about our stout. I personally have demoed or sampled out that stout thousands of times.
The Buried Hatchet?
Yeah, our Buried Hatchet.
Yep.
And
So
I'll tell people the same thing about that beer. Like, if you want to try a stout to get you into stouts, this would be the beer to do it. And thinking about it that way, it's like these are the very simple versions. By the style of each one, they're very simplistic, but they're made very well, and they stand to what their styles are.
yes.
To the simple fact that you could say, yeah, this is an introduction to that style beer. So with this beer, just like the Bombshell, I could definitely, it's a dinner beer to me, especially sitting around having steaks. I love a good IPA with a good steak. I love our Bombshell Blonde with a good steak. And that's kind of where I'd place those at. So
For me, the Smash was, this last 30 years in America, I made a lot of IPAs and different IPAs, but there was always a reason behind the recipe. And I did some with Hop Cannon. You have to balance it. This one here what you were saying it's an afternoon beer. I agree. It's because it's blonde.
Yep.
And you don't see the IPA in first moment. You see a blonde beer, and then you taste the beer and say, well, it's not too bitter. It's has a nice bitterness. You don't realize the alcohol. I would say you drink like a blonde. You don't see there's a 6.6% alcohol there. It's very drinkable and very enjoyable. And I think what you were saying is an afternoon beer. And I can start 3 o'clock in the yard with friends and still have at 6 o'clock, have on my hand still. So it's hard to stop this one. When it go on a dark IPA and heavy IPA, after 2 or 3, I say, I'm done.
Right.
And this is, I think, but it has to in your mind because it's blonde. It's not strong. It's light. And it makes it. Plus, I love citra hops. I mean, I can bathe in citra hops. It's a great smell. It's a great flavor. I mean, when you take the pellets and you wrap it in your hand and smell it, it's fantastic. And in every sip, you taste the citra. And this is for me, it's like a lemon drop bonbon in the back of your tongue. Say, I need one even more. And I remember many nights or many afternoons, I was very happy.
It's a happy beer.
Yeah, it's a happy beer.
So a common, we're gonna close with this one, but a common theme that I just thought of, they're definition beers, right? Because when I think of this, it's a blonde. Like obviously I've drank a ton of them, but it's a blonde. It's the definition of a blonde for me. And again, this is not just because we're sitting at the table. I want to remind you again. This is the definition of an IPA. Are there some that are significantly more bitter, some that are more potent, some that have, higher IBUs, some that don't have the fancy citrusy, lemony hops?
Yeah.
For sure. But it's still a definition IPA. Same with here. I feel that if you're going to introduce somebody to a Mexican style lager, differentiate that however you want, this is a definite by definition, right? To me, it tastes like if you would have had this in an unmarked can and let me taste it, I would have immediately thought, not because of corn tortillas, but because of grain.
Yeah.
Now that you've instructed me, that this is a Mexican beer, right? And so it's definition of a Mexican beer. To me, this could easily be an everyday drinker just because I love Mexican style beers. But for me, this is you've got a group of people that are coming together, outdoor cooking event, right? Right. So it drinks well probably when it's very hot, even into the cooler temperatures. I'm not going to say ice cold. I'm going to want it, not when I'm sitting around that fire and I want that heavier IPA or late afternoon. I could morning drink the shit out of this. But outdoor event, hot, or early morning when it's hot, it probably would be seasonal for me. I will definitely recommend, even though that it's not out there yet, I will definitely buy again and let people know about it. I just hope that, which a lot of my friends definitely aren't, but I hope that people aren't scared to approach it just because of the Mexican style piece. I don't think that'll be a drawback, but people that don't care for Mexican style beers might be straying away from it. I feel like it's a gateway and a definition beer like the rest of them.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly smooth, incredibly drink. This is one that I could get through a 6-pack and be like, oh, I just drank 6 of those.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Not that it's like heavy or anything, just like, oh man, I already had 6. To me, this is and I think I just say this a lot with Mexican style beers or like cervezas in general, but this is just a lake beer to me.
Oh yeah.
I'm at the lake, but I'm not on a boat. I'm on the shore. I'm on like the beach of the lake, with one of those little round Weber grills, cooking up some hot dogs and
grilled cheese Weber grill. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I love Webers, but
that's what we're doing. Not a shirt in sight.
Yeah.
just straight bathing suits and flip flops, maybe. So that's what it is for me.
You hit the nail on the head there. I would definitely have like the long grill fork in one hand with this, with the beer in the other, just throwing down some burgers or somewhere out by the beach or by the lake with grilling. That's what I see with this beer. And you said by definition, again, this is a beer that's made by a German with the same recipes or the same ingredients that was made for the Mexican style beers that we can call like the big 3 or 4. You know?
Yeah.
It's the same history. So to touch on the Mexican style of that's by definition what it is.
Well, that's good.
We thought about this here. It's going in the Hispanic community.
Yep.
And they say, okay, wow, this is good. And then they see who makes the beer. And then they're coming back and say, hey, let's try this here. Let's try this here. Let's try this here. This is over a new way. And for me, the excitement to create something unique. And by using the special grain, was we're using a 100-year-old strain of grain. It's the good part. It's a drinkable beer. And I would say, for me, it's the closest to a Munich Helles. And I grew up with it. When I drank beer when I was 12 years old. And it was just legal in Germany when you meet your parents. And 16 years old, you can go in a bar and buy your own beer. Not in a bar, in a pub. So I got with 16 a couple of beers. And I was not allowed to drive a car, but I was allowed to drink beer. And I was not allowed to drink smoke cigarettes.
That's like here. You can enlist in the military at 18, but you can't drink a beer at 18.
Yeah,
So
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
that's
Best you
stupid.
can do is a gun. So what else does Southern Star have?
Or anything else
to
y'all
tell
wanna-
us?
I mean, we're working really hard over here. We've got a lot in the pipeline. We've already talked about our non-alcoholics. We might have a lighter lager coming out sometime shortly as well. Next year, we're looking to get into other products as well. Henryk has stated a few times that he'd want to try out some other products in general.
When today the craft beer industry is not overrated, but it's so many breweries.
It's
and
saturated.
Saturated. You have to go in a survival mode as brewer. We have the good thing was Dave did here. He built a great brewery. We got a very large warehouse. We have when I was talking about earlier with the 1 square foot, we have a 25,000 square foot. Right now we have roughly 20,000 barrels capacity. So we have to bring something in the capacity. So we have to look in alternative ways. And there's a lot of possibilities available. So we always will make our beer, but we in the future we'll make some other stuff too.
Cool.
All right. That sounds awesome. All right. Well, we've gotten to that point in the podcast where I'm going to tell you to go follow us on social media, on Twitter and TikTok at Off the Tap Pod, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Off the Tap Podcast.
Obviously, we are going to connect with the Southern Star folks in all of the social media, which I normally don't do a plug for. But, man, I've just been really enlightened by all of what's behind the can. So thank you tremendously for that. We look at them as what's written on the outside and what they kind of taste like, but there are a lot more sweat, tears, thoughts, processes, passion, and words that go behind everything that we consume. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys.
Of course.
I worked for a beer brewing company
Oh yeah,
25 years ago.
big fan.
And I was the guy who did the Purple Haze, and I was involved in a Turbo Dog. I did nothing with the Amber. Amber was always Amber.
But that was real quick. But that was like the flagship of a beer, right?
Amber.
was
It's still today.
workhorse.
It's still number one selling beer.
Gotcha.
And Turbo Dog and Purple Haze are number 2, number 3. Come of the part of the year. It's one is faster, one is slower. But the owner of the brewery was the Blossman family. And Blossman family owned St. Tammany Parish in Louisiana, north of New Orleans. So they had the finger everywhere, the hands everywhere. And one of the guys was the banker, and he was telling me the story. So you have 9 customers who say this is a fantastic product. And the 9 customers telling to 9 friends the fantastic product. So you have 99 people who say, wow. The same is the opposite. You have a bad beer where the one guy say this is and then you have 9 other guys who say, oh, he told me this is not good. and then you have 99 talk against it.
Yeah, it's
So it's a very thin line.
it's the Einstein principle. Have you ever heard that?
No.
Where he sat in front of a group of students, and he was like, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, right? 2 times 3 is 6, right? And he went all the way down to 2 times 9 is 20, and they laughed. And he was like, the principle of this is, I was right 8 times, and nobody said shit.
Yeah.
And the one time I was wrong, you're gonna laugh for 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same difference, right?
Yeah.
The 99 versus the
Yeah,
1 as far as like market.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, they're always gonna
Yeah.
be poking.
And there's always, when you make whatever you make, there's always somebody against it. And somebody always say, this is not good. And I mean, I'm doing this for 40 years now. I got a very thick
Thick
skin.
Yeah.
So it's,
Also,
I like it or don't like it, I still get my paycheck.
yeah, I would.
Yeah, there you go.
I would also
There you
say after 40 years, you can't be wrong and make it
Be
work
still-
that
be
long,
still-
right?
still be a
Right?
job,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's not a job where you could be wrong and make it work that long.
And like we
That's-
talked earlier, it's kind of the loud voice of the few.
Yeah.
We see that a lot on our socials. Like you get 1 or 2 guys that say that something doesn't taste right, and then it's like, oh yeah, you're right about that. So
Do you think that that's specific to you guys being here, or is that everywhere?
it's got to be everywhere.
Everywhere?
It's everywhere,
Okay.
yeah. And
Gotcha.
still, when you look saying, I know they have the same problems. Look the craft beer industry. Everybody talks against Budweiser, Miller Coors.
Mhm.
I have a lot of respect for the guys.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is 100 years old. There's some tradition inside. There's 90 million barrels of beer sold a year. Somebody has to drink it. And it's not one person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm a professional brewer. So I see behind the doors, this stuff. And when you look at Budweiser Brewery and you go there and see the tradition was there, it's fascinating. It's when my heartbeats start going fast when I see all the old crap, old brew houses. And think about, you have a 1,000-barrel brew house.
Yeah.
We have a 50-barrel brew house.
Oh my gosh.
And you have I was by Chris invited one time for a job interview, and I was so close to get the job. And we have 6 monitors. There's 2 guys sitting on 6 monitors running the brew house.
Yeah.
And this is going the steps through the problem. Then they have 4 guys doing the cellar. There's nobody in the cellar. There's nobody connecting a hose.
Right.
Everything is automatic, and the cleaning the tank and everything else. And so there's a certain science behind the way how the fermenting and how the aging. So the fermenting in the 7-day cycle. Then you're going in a 7-day cycle of aging, maturing. And then you have something between for 3 days. So the beer is done in 17 days. And in the meantime, the centrifuge beer, this is when I was in college again, 40 years ago, we learned this stuff, that you can shorten up your fermentation time or the aging time by taking off the yeast. Because maturing or the aging is only settling down the yeast from here to here. When you go in the old days, all the cellars, they had tanks, how it calls
Horizontal.
horizontal.
Yeah.
Because the reason was the height of the tank was from the ceiling to here. So the yeast goes from here to here.
Long time.
Now they have, it's short way.
Oh, okay.
Now you have, as we have, when you look outside here, the big tanks,
Yeah.
they are 4 times the height. So when you come from top to the bottom, it takes 4 times the length. So a lot of the new breweries or the modern breweries, they're using a centrifuge.
Yep.
To take out 90% the yeast cells, and then they're shortening up the aging time. Because the aging time comes only taking out the yeast. And this is what Budweiser doing, what Miller's doing. When you look a lot of craft brewers, lager beers, 42 days and longer. 6 months, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. There's no reason for this. Not in today's time.
Because there's a technology that can
Yeah.
overcome that.
And you have I would say a 35-day, 30-day cycle. It's fine. You get the same goals out. I'm not only a brewmaster, certified brewmaster from a German school. I have a degree in economics, and the major problem of small brewers in Germany dying because the financial aspect.
Uh,
So how you manage your money, and we have 90% of the German brewers are union brewers. So you have a high pay for the guys. You can a brewer right now in Germany makes 45,000 euros, but it's maybe compared to the cost of living,
yeah,
$60,000, $70,000.
gotcha.
Here in America, you got one in average 40,000. When you make $40,000 in a brewery, you're
Really,
in good shape. It's not a money making business.
that's crazy.
Is that why were you a brewmaster in Germany?
Yep.
So is that why you moved over here to be
No,
able to
it's
do it and
so
make it livable?
no, I made always good money in Germany. There was no reason for me to come to America. We have family in Connecticut. My sister's sister is married to an American in the Air Force in the 70s, 80s. And he was stationed in Germany, and he got married, moved to America. And in Germany, you have 6 weeks paid vacation. You have
Very, very familiar. Yeah,
And
I got some good
what's that? And you have,
Vacation, you said.
there's no sick time.
Right. That's,
Whatever sick time you need, this is what you get.
Yeah.
And so my vacation time, you go to Spain, Italy. I was going to America because of my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. And we got married and I was young, and we got to Disney World. I was maybe 24, 25. And we
So
drove.
wait, real quick, Disney World is what brought you to the America?
No,
I'm joking.
no, the way of living.
I got you.
It's so easy. And you go in somebody and they say, "What are you doing in Germany?" And you're a brewmaster. You're the coolest guy.
Yeah.
You're the man of the hour.
Oh yeah,
And
brewmaster.
so I decided then one time on vacation and say, "Hey, I'm moving to America." So I applied for a green card, got over, and I was in Cleveland, Ohio, my first job in a brew pub. I made 24,000 with no benefits.
Yeah.
And I made 80,000 in Germany with all benefits.
Struggle. Yeah.
There was a midlife crisis, and I wanted to be of the craft beer side of the craft beer industry. And I'm now here since '94. It's in 30 years, and I cannot regret one day. Every day was fantastic, and I got always good jobs. You have to move a lot of times because you always go for the next better job.
Right.
Or somebody calls you and say, "Hey, you're the man. We need you." I started our own brewery, and I did it for 8 years. Then I got bought out. Not the nice way, the hard way.
Yeah.
Kick out. So I did everything. And I feel the pain whoever starts a brewery. It's not an easy task. And you can do whatever you think you make the best, and you can, everybody in the family ask for money, and you get a bank loan and everything else. It's still business will maybe 1 in 10 make it. The rest after 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, it's out of money and lost a couple of $100,000.
Do you think that, obviously, because it's been 30 something plus years, do you think that because America, or the US rather, doesn't have the heritage that German beer does, that's what's made it exciting, or that's what drew you to it, to like make not necessarily a name for yourself, but make good beer for the States compared to the legacy of what happens over there?
When I got over, yes.
Yeah.
But then I changed my mind when I was here because I learned meet a lot of homebrewers, and the passion must they have in the research. They would say, "Okay, we're done with Budweiser, we're done with Coors, we're done with all because we want to make something tasteful." And this was a good way to do, and I think this is the success when you look the top 50 breweries 30 years ago, and you look the top 50 breweries today. I would say 42 are the same, and only 8 made it in the top 10.
Gotcha.
And they are still now out of the top 10 again sometime because Budweiser bought the guys, and then like Karbach and everything else. But there's a lot of passion, but you have to realize what you want to do. Do you want to be successful and you make a pub brewery and you're in a local market, when you control your local market, then you're successful. But when you look in Houston, the Heights, in the Heights we have 6 or 8 breweries, and everybody next door. So, and everybody's the same. There's nobody better. There's nobody worse.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the place, how you feel comfortable as customer, and then you can make it. When you make 1,000 barrels in sales in a tap room, you make $1.5 million in sales roughly. When you take off the labor cost and everything else, you live good on this. But then when you go on the next level and say, I want to be larger, you need a bigger place, you need a bigger brew house, you need a 30-barrel brew house, and you be a pub brewery, and the smallest batch you can do is 20 barrels. So you're stuck.
Yep.
Because you can make 6 beers maybe.
Right.
Yeah. I was in a brewery in Black Page Brewing Company. Really nice setup. But we have a 15-barrel brew house because the owner thought the law in Texas, as pub brewer, you can make 10,000 barrels. But who's buying the 10,000 barrels? And there's a kind of a simple rule. For barrel beer what you want to sell, you need 1 square foot working area.
Like the economics of just the operation.
Yeah. So you want to make 1,000 barrels, you need 1,000 square foot. So you have a pub brewery with 1,000 square foot, and then you say, okay, I want to go in production. Where you put the canning line?
Oh yeah.
Right? There's no space.
Yeah.
So you have to get a 5,000 square foot when you plan this way.
Yeah.
And this is the mistake with a lot of guys doing. And then you got in the second financing, and then this really struck out. We had in a peak time, when I was here, we got 360 breweries in 94. We got in the peak time 3 years ago, 10,000.
Oh yeah. Pulling up.
Ooh. And now how many are closing again? And I was surprised. I was reading the guy Talyard.
Yeah.
In this is a fantastic setup. This place is gorgeous. It's really a good heartbeat going. This thing was $10 million minimum.
Yeah.
How much barrels you can sell there to get the 10 million back? So
Not enough, maybe.
You have to sell day and night.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're at, though. That's as far as what we've been talking about for the last 8 months, a year or so. We're looking at other avenues to create revenue. Because craft beer, it's just hard to have a turnaround. So, a few things that he's bringing in it's more than craft beer for us.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned about non-alcoholics.
Yep.
And how you don't see very many craft breweries doing that.
No.
We have 2 that we plan on putting into our 2025 lineup that will release hopefully by Q1.
Gotcha.
And these are things that we have to look at the market and really see, what can we do outside of just craft beer. We're going to continue to make great craft beer like we've always done.
Yep.
But we want to try to do other things too that maybe people like yourselves aren't used to having and could bring in revenue for us. Right. And then we also have the expertise for it.
Well, the one thing I was going to say that's real refreshing too is like obviously sitting down with someone like yourself, right? Someone that's been in the business. It's just I always think that it's just people that are crazy about beer. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure
that's
you
how
are
it starts,
right? That's how it starts,
that's
right?
Exactly.
There has to be that fire. But ultimately, and there's the business aspect, and people can talk what they want about the business, right? Or branding or marketing or whatever. But the other piece is like, I would be very excited, right? Like we drink a lot of beers that are alcoholic, but I would be very excited to have an option with that same passion, right? That started you out in this avenue, having that same option in something that's non-alcoholic, whether it's for me or whether it's for the group of or the generation or whatever it be that doesn't necessarily partake in alcoholic beverages, right? I don't want to give on, and maybe this is selfish, but I don't want to give on the quality of what I'm experiencing or the experience that it creates, right? Because a lot of them are going to go into parties and drink non-alcoholic beers. They're going to have it at events. They're going to whatever, because that's the way the generation works. I don't want to give up on having great taste with a great foundation. And great taste sounds so fucking like cliche, right? The Miller Lights of the world, right? But I don't want to give up on having a great beer experience just because it's non-alcoholic. And I think the passion that people that started with foundationally brewing good beer, they can provide. Does that make sense?
I think what you're looking for is just a great product overall.
Yes.
It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be beer.
I
think that's
get
what
that.
people like. The craft beer has brought in this dynamic of creation within like home brewers, and then they get to meet people that have been doing it for a while, and it's all centered around craft beer. But in reality, a guy like Henryk can come in and we can make products that are great in every avenue.
Yep.
I have to disagree a little bit.
Oh, go ahead.
No, because I was so many times on homebrew competitions.
Yep.
And you come in as a German guy, and by your language, by your accent, you're
Immediately like,
you're the cool
here
guy.
we
So
go.
whatever you say is right.
Right.
Can't be wrong. And there's a lot of passion with you guys. But again, you have to see what you were saying, the marketing aspect. Right? When you start a brewery, what is your marketing concept? Which kind of customer you want to go? How you look to your labels? 70% of people who are buying beer are male or female?
Male, probably.
No, female.
Really?
Really?
Oh,
Mostly
because
women.
they're doing the shop. I mean,
They're doing the shopping.
We're gonna divide the room right
Yeah.
now. What are they?
It's the way.
Because they're doing the shopping.
So
or they're
when
the
I
ones
go
that
shopping, I'm in a store and out in a store in 10 minutes.
That is true.
Yeah,
That's
and
a very good
I
point.
got all my items in.
Hmm.
My wife is in the store for 4 hours
Yeah.
and still forgot stuff
Yes.
because she think. But I was doing a lot of beer tasting when I did Heinebrau, and we did always beer tasting, and we had a Saturday before the LSU game or Sunday before the Saints game, and 90% on this day, or 95%, 99% on women bought the food
That's a
because
good
their
point.
husband was at home starting the
getting
grill,
ready.
get ready for the game and everything else.
Yeah.
And so you talk to the woman and say, "Hey, I'm the German guy and wearing lederhosen and German outfit." And you
By
say,
the way, I don't want to picture that, but I'm sure
no,
maybe
at this time I
okay,
was skinnier.
okay.
So
I got you.
I was
All right.
skinny
All right.
looking.
Track of leader.
And
Gotcha.
people took the beer, and so most of the people take the beer when you do a promotion, but then they feel bad, and you find somewhere in the store, you take it out of the car and put it somewhere in the
Oh,
shelf.
I see.
And I was always on the end of my promotion. I would walk to the store and see if I can find stuff. People took the stuff home, and then you got home to your husband would say, "Bring the Miller," and you bring a Heinebrau,
Yeah.
and you say,
Okay.
"What are you doing?" And then they like it, and then they come back, and so we got from 0 to 8,000 barrels in 4 years in a market we think there's no chance to make this. And this was in Louisiana. We were on the second craft beer brewery in Louisiana. There was Abita,
Yep.
was in Abita Springs, and Covington. It's 3 miles away. I was in Covington, and New Orleans after Katrina was gone. There were no breweries left, and Baton Rouge was a couple years later. Was starting up. Now Louisiana, Greater New Orleans has 80 breweries, and nobody make money. There's not only Parish, and I think Parish Brewing Company, maybe
Yeah. I
close
do
to
know
the
that.
machine. Yeah, and the guys, fantastic. And then you have the newcomer. It's in Hammond, and both guys got to me at Heinebrau and asked me what to do in a brewery. What they asked me a question, and I told, okay, you have to do this, you have to do this. And these are the only 2 successful ones. Everybody else, it's hanging in the business. And New Orleans, well, Louisiana, you have only 2 seasons.
Yep.
Mardi Gras,
And-
Jazz Festival,
That's right.
and nothing else. In the summer, you have only heat. In the later summer, you have hurricanes.
So I think so back to your point
Yeah.
real quickly, like when we talk about quality product, obviously what's in the can counts, right? What's in the tanks
Yeah.
counts. And that's what maybe keeps them coming back.
Yeah.
But back to the point you just made too, if that initial sale, right? Because we don't battle about it ever, but I'm a nerd when it comes to the can. I don't buy, I mean, I buy if I like it, right?
Yeah.
If I've already had it, but I also buy initially based on the can.
Yeah.
And you can even ask him. My wife will come with us periodically when we go to buy beers, and she always buys immediately by the concept behind it. Oh, what is this? What was I don't even want to call them out, but like, Earl Grey tea
Yeah.
and something, and it was fucking terrible, right? Or I want, oh, this has a fancy picture, whatever.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
once it comes to the house and we drink it,
Yeah.
right? And there's quality in the can. So you need both. You need
Yeah.
quality and branding,
Well,
but you also need quality in the can.
I mean, we felt so. We're, or at least I've been a lover of Karbach for a long time. We're out of Houston,
Give or
and
take these days.
No, he's a German
They-
brewmaster.
No, I got you. I'll
uh,
give you that.
I loved them.
Okay.
yeah, they whenever they released the Crawford Bach, right? I'm a huge Astros fan,
Huge.
and so I was like, well, I'll give it a try since the can, right? It's the cool rainbow jersey and whatnot. And we kind of both felt like that. We
Yeah,
were
I was
like,
like, this is straight
we're
up.
like,
I'm
well,
gonna buy the can.
I'm gonna buy it for the can, and then we tried it, and we were like, it's pretty damn good beer.
It is.
It's a damn good Bach.
Yeah. They hit a home run with
And
that.
and so then it was like,
Literally.
Yeah,
I
well,
was gonna buy one because of the can,
Yeah.
but now they got me coming back because it is a good product.
it was this real quickly. It was the same way with I don't know. Remember if it was the late '90s? Coors had the big baseball bat. Do you remember this? Do you remember
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
And I was like, oh, what it? I own like probably 30 of them, right? I don't even care for Coors, right? But that's what brought it into the house. Foundationally, though, you still have to, back to what you're saying, you still have to have something that's decent quality inside the can, right? Like that might be who's bringing it into the household. That might be how you're introduced to it. Maybe you see a cool banner. There's a lot of fancy art, right? We can talk St. Arnold or somebody like that has a bunch of random art, but you still have to have foundationally something that's quality that's in the can, right?
Right.
Well, the history of Bombshell Blonde will prove that alone. I mean, back when we started it, people were buying it because of the blue can and the girl on the bottom.
right.
And nobody knew what was going on. It was
Yep.
like, what is this
No,
product?
but I almost would say she's wearing lederhosen.
We've actually talked about
This
this.
is the second rendition. The first one was a skirt. This one is like the Indiana Jones style shorts there. But
It's a also too now. I don't know if it's just around us, but when you walk by the shelves, you see obviously there's a ton, like you said, a ton of microbreweries now, and then you see the cliche that are the regular breweries that we all know, Miller, the Budweiser, stuff like that. But around me, and I'm not saying this just because we're sitting at the table, I mean this genuinely. But like this might as well be in my household or around my group of like direct connect like friends. This might as well be a Budweiser label. Like they see her, they see her writing, and that is a beer that they understand. They know foundationally and fundamentally what they're getting.
right.
So
The branding for it has superseded, I think, a lot of things.
yes,
Yeah, this was before you'd walk down the craft aisle at HEB and see just an art,
Aisles.
like an art display.
Yep.
Now, I've spent so many hours in front of the cold boxes at HEB doing demos that I can tell you it's just like it's insane the amount of time and effort that these breweries put into their cans, including us.
Oh yeah.
But it's all it goes back to that original idea that you have so many people going in there buying the art first or buying the look first and then figuring out that it's
how you
good.
decide it's a not a negative way. It's woman. For example, for me, it's man. You go on the shelf, you have 20 IPAs. Which one you pick?
Yeah, how?
Yep.
How?
Oh wow, this looks good. This looks interesting. Let's try this.
Yeah.
The same when I go in a microbrewery, a brew pub, I always get a sampler because I want to see what I would like. And most time it's you can see almost full, empty, almost full. I go
I
with
need
this
that
one.
one.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's simple in this one. But when you know what you want, and like here with Bombshell, you go for it. In Germany, when you go in a Gasthof and a pub, you never say I want to get a Bombshell or I want to get. You say give me a Helles. Whatever
By the style of
what is on the tap in this place, because you never know who owns the brewery, and mostly the breweries owns the restaurant, so the Gasthof or the pub. So you go always and give me a Helles. This is so simple, and most time whatever locally is, this is what you drink. Being a brewmaster in Germany, so you go to school in Germany to run a brewery, operate a brewery. You have to be certified.
Okay.
So it's not like in America we be a chemical engineer and say, now I'm changing my job and I'm a brewmaster. So in Germany, you have to be trained. 99% of people working in a brewery, they are trained. They doing the trade school of brewer in Malta. And then you go as journeyman, Then you go to school back like me. And so I was in international school run by the government, Bavarian government. And so we had people from Turkey, Sri Lanka, Costa Rica, Brazil, Argentina, Africa, Japan. We studied
all
there.
over the place.
And everybody, you have to learn, you have to speak German to go to the school. So, and the school takes 2 years and 2,000 classroom hours. So you have 40 hours a week class, and then afterwards you do your homework, and then you get every 3 months or every 6 months you have a test, and when you fail, you're out of the program. So,
oh my God.
and
Can you ever get back in, or like you have to restart, or?
Most people don't. They give up.
no, I really nobody fails.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because the pressure is so high. And again, you get paid by the government. You get paid for going to school.
I gotcha.
So you get free school, free boarding, semi-free boarding, but you have to buy still food. And then you get a kind of stipend. So I was married, and so as you can support your family. And the same with the guys from Brazil or Argentina. They got paid going to school. So when you're not getting your grades, you're going back home.
I see.
And Brazilian, the guys was bringing the whole family. It was not only the guy there, like me. No, they had the whole family there.
Gotcha.
A part of your education is creation of recipes. So you know what goes and what's not goes, and what you can do. And then you do a lot of research, like an IPA example. IPA was brewed in England and shipped to India. Was going on the boat around Africa to India. It was aging for 12 weeks below the sea level, what is cold. The water is 45, 50 degrees, 60 degrees. So it's really more a lager beer as an ale.
Yeah.
It's because it's aged for a long time. The high gravity, why the high alcohol contents, is because it was stable. And then in India, it got diluted to the drinkable concentration, but the original IPA on the board maybe was 12%.
Like a
And-
deep, thick
And
wine.
it had 100 IBUs.
Yeah.
But,
Good old Dipper.
but you diluted this to the right amount. And when you look in IPA has to be, I say, whatever your alcohol content is, times 10 should be your hops.
Gotcha.
Because then you have the balance between body and the bitterness. And here you have IPUs with 100, 120, 150, and there's no, and then you have 6% alcohol.
Yeah.
When you look at I forget it was the dogfish head,
Dr.
Dogfish head, the 100 minutes IPA,
120.
or the 120. No, they have 190 minutes and 120. I say, yeah, this is nice balance. When you take the 120 minutes, I would IBUs, because it's not really IBUs anymore, the minutes was they're using, it's very drinkable.
Yeah.